Good morning, good morning, good morning. So, wow, we have a light crew here this Wednesday morning. So I hope everyone is doing well. And today I actually planned on flipping this back to you all. I get so worried about you all, you guys, you who knows what to say, right, Wendy? It's very confusing. So a couple things that I just kind of want to bring to the surface. So we have a webinar today. I encourage you guys to come on. You'll learn a couple new things, and also candidly, you'll also feel better about what you have learned. We have over 450 people that have submitted different questions about how to talk to buyers and sellers in through this market shift. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, you ever hear the saying, Wendy, you'd rather be lucky than smart? That's what I'm thinking about right now. We're lucky because we've been talking about this for 2 weeks already. 450 plus questions, which leads me to come to the distinct conclusion that if you're able to have these conversations, you're going to beat out all of your competitors. Now think about this. People want to feel comfortable, right? Now, remember how I talk about you need to walk somebody through a process to like get them to understand what you're telling them is not just selling them. All right, as many of you turn your cameras on as possible, so it feels like we're like in a group setting. I'm going to show you guys a trick that I did for somebody yesterday. Now, here's what the challenge is, and please unmute yourself, right? And I want to hear this from you in the beginning. Now, if I just said to you, Mark, you know what, interest rates going up are far more expensive than prices going down. It's sellers are not going to bring their prices down to fix the gap. So it's best that you just buy a property now. Now, do you feel like I just sold you something? Yeah, right? What you got to remember how we talk about you have to speak to people through their belief systems, what they believe, what they know to be true, and get people to come to their own conclusions of it being what you want them to talk about, right? Now watch this. I'm going to show you how to do this with a client, right? So a client is going to ask you, should I wait for prices to come down before I buy, right? Hit yes if you've heard that recently. Everybody. Mark, you guys don't have that in Carmel, Pebble Beach? Everybody, no? It's like one of the things people want to know. Now, who wants to be my live participant today? Don't all come running at once, please. All right. I'm not asking you anything. You're just literally going to just be my play along buddy.
I'll do it, Chirag. I'm on vacation and just woke up, but I'll do it.
I appreciate being part of your vacation. All right, so watch this. What is your average price point?
About 750,000.
Okay, perfect. Now watch this. So I'm going to say to you, I would say, let's say 750. So we'll say the loan amount 750, right? So we're going to say, look, so we really want to, you're going to ask me and you're going to say, I'm not sure if I should wait for prices to come down before I buy. I'm thinking, Chirag, of just waiting out the market, right? And I'd say, great. Let me pull up a mortgage calculator and let's see what that looks like and then see what works best for you. Is that all right?
Sure, sounds great.
Okay, now watch this. All right, we can all see my mortgage calculator. So we're going to say a month ago, the rates were at 4.5%, right? Say you're borrowing $750,000. Can you write that number down? 3,800. Brooke, we'll have Brooke be your calculator since you don't have a pen. So $3,800, right? So is it safe to say if you purchased this property a month ago, it would cost you $3,800 a month?
Yes.
Great. Now let's see what it costs today at 5.5% of what the rate is. $42.58. Right? So clearly the rates have gone up, and now the same property costs you more money. And pretty much from what I understand, what you're trying to evaluate is it worth it to pay the additional funds today, or should I wait for prices to come down?
Right.
Is this what all of our clients want to know today? Now watch this. So the gap is, this is easy math because they're round numbers. So 38, so essentially, Heidi, the gap that you're looking at right now, as long as this economically makes sense for you, is 3,800 to 42.58. So it's a
$458.
$458, right? Now, here's the question. How much do you think a seller would have to come down in price for it to equal the last payment, right? So what we're now looking at is how much of a price drop would a seller have to make today to make you whole on the raise in interest rate? Is that what you're wondering?
It is exactly what I'm wondering.
So let's guess. How much do you think they'd have to come down?
750, and I'm just doing this on paper, but I'm thinking you're probably going to have to come down. I don't know. I'm going to just take a stab at this. You're probably looking at 25 to 30,000 at least.
Okay, so let's take a look at this.
I mean, I don't know, because
this is what your clients are going to say. This is like the most realistic example. Now watch this. That really didn't do much now, did it? So we have to go down more, right?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So let's go down $50,000. That still doesn't do it either. Let's go down. Let's go down $75,000. That still doesn't do it.
It's pretty close to it though.
670. So a seller would have to go down $80,000 to make up that gap. Based on the comps that we shared and what other buyers are willing to pay for homes, if you were looking at the same data, would you drop your price of the home $80,000?
No.
That's a little more than 10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think in the next 90 days, sellers are going to drop their prices by 10%? Like the $750,000 neighborhood is going to become a 670 neighborhood?
No.
Now, here's what we do know. Now, let's go back to this number where we are today, 42.58. What we do know is the bank-to-bank lending rates from the Fed are at 1.75. We do know that they said they're going to continue to raise their rates. Now, if you decide to wait for a price drop and the payment now goes up, it goes up another percentage. Now you're at 47.41, where your number will continue to rise. So the inverse relation is for every point that the interest rates go up, a price would have to come down by 11% to make up the difference. Now that's on a baseline of 4.5 to 5.5, right? If you're looking at that 4.5 to 6.5, that number is going to be even higher. So based on this, let's sit down and discuss what you actually want to do and what makes sense to you. Now, I call that my interest rate magic trick. Did that illustrate the point to a buyer? If you're looking at this, do you think in any way on God's earth that somebody's going to drop their house 11%? No, it's not. And this is where having that rising chart raises. But look, you can buy this house today. There's less competition. There's not multiple offers and all these things. So there's a chance you might be able to negotiate. And ultimately, Heidi, what you have to figure out is, does it make sense for you to purchase a home today? We know the cost of waiting is 1% a month. or 0.5% a month based on what we've been seeing. And that's where having the interest rate trends are. Now, who has questions about this? Heidi? And then
Well,
Tamina.
I mean, I think you can present it all and try to make them understand that, but there's still this overwhelming feeling that there's going to be this market crash, and it's hard to get them down off the ledge from that.
So those people, this is what you say. Look at my hand. Bye-bye. See you later. You're not buying the home. And by the time you look at buying the home, even if you have a bunch of money to do it, the rate's probably gonna be at 6.5%, 7%. There's a saying in Gujarati, which is our native language that my family speaks. And the English translation is, it's gonna hurt so bad, you're not gonna know how to cry, right? And when these things go up, the prices if you have to look back, do you know what has to happen for a $750,000 neighborhood to go back to a 675 neighborhood? And by the way, people are just going to have to keep lowering their prices, right? It's one idiot goes and dumps their property, but look at how strong all the comps are. Renee Lee, nice to see you here again. So if you go back and think about it, logically, what's going to have to happen? All those market crash people, just get rid of them. They're bad clients right now. So look, here's my point. The market goes down by 10%, interest rates go up by 1.5%, you're still behind. So the market crash, people are not buying primary residence to live in for 10 plus years, correct? Those aren't good clients right now. Investors, doom and gloom people, right? It's not how this works. Tamina.
I just wanted to know where you got, where your source was for going up, the rates going up 0.5%. I'd like to be able to quote that.
It's not a source. If you go back to January, it was at 3%.
Right. Okay. So
Okay.
just walk me through the math then. So that's how you're calculating each month how it went up.
Well, if you look at it, it's at 5.5% now, and it was at 3% in January, right? February 3.5%, March 4%, April 4.5%, May 5%, June 5.5%. But go back to a lender and get better dates.
Right. Okay. I understand. That was my question that I had.
This
I
is
have
why I
another
said on
question.
average.
Yeah, I understand. Do you think it's possible? I'm looking for solutions for some of my clients who maybe, they have a certain mortgage payment they need to make to stay in the market. Is it possible to speak with lenders to see about buying down the rate? I know one of my clients had to do that recently. It was never discussed with me. I found out at closing that he may have bought down a point. I mean, is there a way to also talk about that?
Yep, because so one of the things is people are making offers at a price with the seller buying down the rate.
Right. So how would you present that? How would you put that into a contract?
You'd present the offer and says seller to pay blank amount of money to buy interest rate down to this amount and quote the.
So you'd have to get that information from your lender so that you know what all the numbers are and you can lay it out on the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, can I interject there real quick on that buying down a point business? And if I can find the guy's YouTube, I'll send it to you. But he's a local lender here in Houston. He's a good guy. He just did a whole video on that buying down the point and how that is not necessarily a financially sound move if the person is not going to be staying there for more than 5 to 7 years, and how it really costs them money to do it. And if I can find that video, I'll share it with you guys. And it's just, it's just good information.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, I know it's for less than 5 years. Usually it's not worth it. But the thing here is that Tamina is saying for the seller to pay for the point. So it doesn't matter. It's an incentive to the buyer. And I heard in one of Chirag's meetings, someone say that an agent, she was paying for the points as an incentive to the buyer. So you as an agent can also offer, it's not that much usually. It's like a 0.5% or something.
So here's where you need to partner with all your lenders and talk to them. You see how you guys are all like workshopping this? This is something that you should know very clearly and say, based on this, a point buy down is good. These are all facts that you need to know.
Agreed.
Look, in the end of the day, the unfortunate thing is if your payment needs to be $3,500 and you at January, you're looking at an $804,000 mortgage. And today you're looking at like 630, 627, something like that. It sucks. There's no way around it. Certain groups of people are going to be just literally priced out of the market. Because you got to remember this. The market is at a 99% high. Properties in most of these areas are 40% higher, according to an article in Inman, they believe they said yesterday. Think about it. How many people have seen 20% annual market gains? Mark, what do you have in yours? Luciano, what do you have in yours? Wayne, what do you have in yours? Right? Like Renee in New York City, it's a little bit different, but you guys are at peak prices, right? So now we flip it on to sellers. They're complaining about not getting offers. My thing to a seller would be, look, you're at a 99.5% all-time high. We know that if rates are going up, and this is where you show them the affordability thing for a buyer, what would you expect? Prices to eventually come down. So the question is do you want to set the market, follow the market, or be left with the market? That's really the only option that they have. And if not, just keep your place, and we don't know if prices will ever be this high again. COVID drove up these prices like crazy. So who else has questions about this? Mark?
Yeah, thanks. I think, one of the hard things for us, we're in there's a secondary market, and I know there's some other people that are in secondary market. So we never really had that urgency for people to buy. We'll work with people for 6 or 7 years and they still haven't bought, or that now they actually have had a couple buy, but now the market goes back to 2018, 2019. There's not the urgency and there's not the affordability. So it's hard trying to, figure out really who is going to be those buyers, and also sharing that same information with sellers that, that urgency in the market is not there that it was over the last 2 years.
Well, the sellers one is easy because it's just days on market, right? Like if every property is in contract and sold, is the average days on market's like 5, 6, 10, 12, and you're 30 days on market, you can literally ask them, hey, look, you saw these properties were listed on these dates. I would point to it. How many days on market were they there? And they're going to say that many. And then you could show the active, say, how many are these on? Like, this is it. Also, the other thing is like going back to having a mortgage chart based on months, right? That's why this is important. You can say, look, when this house was listed, these are what the rates were, and this is what the payment was for this house. When your house is listed today, this is what the payment is because the market's changed. Let them come to their own conclusions. And if they can't understand the conclusion and they still want yesterday's price, are they a good client?
No.
No, you're literally, if you're telling someone that you could get them the same price, you're literally lying to them. You know you can't get that price. The crazy part is, but there were so many different buyers. There's like 15 offers for every property, right? So now there might be like 3, or some people have none. We had someone in the afternoon calls like, well, these homes normally sell 4 days on market. I'm on day 7. What do I do? I was like, I don't know. What did you do before COVID, right? Like, we all got spoiled with this stuff. But this is where the opportunity is. This is why when we start talking about practicing our pitch, understanding commission objections, how to deliver our value proposition, that's where all this stuff comes back into handy. The skill of pricing property. So like once we get through all this stuff, we're going to go back to the buyer consultations and, getting them to understand the market. Those are all the essential skills. Now, in a couple weeks, when this transitions to the playbook, I have 18 of my best clients who I've got all, some very willingly, and some I had to give a little elbow to share their best lead gen secrets. Right. So the first few sessions or first 2 months of this playbook will really be just learning the best secrets of some of the best agents here at Compass. So we really want to make sure that while this market shift is going, that you're focused relentlessly on lead gen. Right? You have to be in active conversations. Now is not the time to retreat. This is not a good time to orphan your clients. Luciana.
Yeah, I have a scenario. It's a property price range is different from, because he's not concerned about mortgage. He's a seller at the $7 million property. And I think the property is worth 5.5, maybe 5.8. And he told me that no, because somebody he knows in the building is a friend of him and said that the whole New York is flooding Miami and that the building changed the vibe and now the property is worth more. And it's not the case because New York flood, it happened last year, but not anymore, not as in the amount of people that it used to. So here it is. And this person is not concerned about buyers having to get a mortgage because he thinks who buys a property at that price range doesn't need a mortgage. And I don't know, I wanted to compare with the stock market. If the person puts their money in the stock market, they would make more money than parking their money in a $7 million apartment. I don't know.
I think you've answered all your own questions, right? This is a perfect example of somebody who has all their own answers, all of their own beliefs. You're not going to change them. The only thing to ask them is, okay, what is your plan B if no one wants to pay $7 million from the New York gold rush?
Yeah, I guess that's it.
See,
yeah.
This is a good example. In what my dad would say, this is called like an elbow suite. I'm like, what the heck's an elbow suite? He's like, it's like a suite on your elbow. You could look at it, you could see it, you could smell it, you could almost taste it, but you could never get it. That's that $7 million listing, right? It's an elbow suite. There's no way that guy's going to sell it. And you could say, when you're doing these listings, don't take these listings on in the beginning because a $7 million listing is going to cost you thousands of dollars in A, marketing, and B, time. These people are annoying too. You're not getting me the buyer. Don't you ever accompany as all these people in New York? It'd be like if I knew how to take a $5.5 million asset and make somebody pay $7 million for it, I'd be the smartest marketer in the world. And if your friend in the building, you can't say this to him, but if your friend in the building said it, then have him sell your apartment.
Yeah, you know what? When I got this listing, I got it at the end of last year. I got him to lower the price. He was losing money to sell. And I told him it's only selling if you put the flooring, because this is a new construction. I said, you have to put the flooring, the blinds, and the closets and paint. And so they agreed and they did it. But then when it was ready, it took a long time to be ready. And this year, and then I think this is old news that New Yorkers are flooding Miami. This happened last year, and I've been telling you guys. Now that it's ready, this friend of him, he lives in the building, he's on the board of the building, and he thinks that everything is changing.
So look, I'm going to cut you off. This is done. It doesn't matter what the guy thinks. Who cares? You're not changing it. You've been in our coaching for 2 years. You should know better than this. Stop wasting your time. These people, I want this, I want that. They said this. Who agrees with this? Do you know you're sitting here giving me all this information on why he's wrong, correct? So the real question is why do agents agree with these unrealistic like psychopaths? This is like, I tell people, I'm like, these beliefs are like sociopathic beliefs. They're crazy. It's nuts. It's never going to happen, right? If you had a single family home in South Florida, when everyone in New York was locked down and physically wasn't allowed to be outside, sure, maybe something like this was possible. But this is it. The party's over. So I'm really happy you shared that. These clients are like drugs. Just say no. Because you see what happens? It's bad, right? Like, remember that egg commercial? Like, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. It's like, this is your life. This is your life with bad clients. You're fried completely. They're going to suck money out of you, time out of you. They're going to ask for open houses. Agents need to say no. This is what the problem is. Don't just say, I'm sorry. Right. And I would tell these people, are you hiring me to tell you the truth or to agree with you? Right. Are you hiring me for professional advice or to agree with you? And see what they say. I'm looking at the numbers. My company's the #1 brokerage in the country and #1 in New York. I've spoken with my colleagues there. This is not the case based on what they're saying and people who speak with the clients every day. Look, it's like the suburbs of Westchester County and some of these neighboring suburbs to New York City. Someone from the city is going to come and pay me all this money for my house. It's not happening. So stay focused. #1. #2, say no. No. David says a good client right now is a person who's willing to be real in the conversation about the reality right now. Yeah. Listen, I'll leave you with this thought. You have to protect your spirit in all of this. We all have this spirit that's excited, that wants to help people, that wants to connect with people. And there's negative news everywhere you go. If you do not protect your spirit, this market will suck you in like a vacuum. And mentally, you will not be in a good place. Listen, the reality is this economic shift has made it so that some people are not getting their prices. They shouldn't sell their homes and everything else. Buyers just shouldn't buy right now. And that's the reality of all of this. And if you can't wrap your head around this and draw a barrier, like a line, you're going to have a problem. Protect your spirit, protect your time. Luciana, fire the client. Say, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Just tell them.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell them today something, but I had the listing already. They decided to raise the price after the floors were ready. And I already spent all my marketing money, you know, my video and everything. I had the
Exactly. Raise the price. I'm not selling at this price, but I redid the floors, so now someone's gonna pay me a lot more. These people are nuts. They're just crazy. So
yeah, I
please
know.
avoid sociopathic buyers and sellers in their views of the world.
Yeah.
Join
They
us
live
at 12.
ready.
It'll be a
Okay.
fun session. And look, we'll continue this conversation. I promise you, I'll make sure you guys are all have. Sound good? And let me know when you guys try that calculator trick. Let me know how it goes next week with your clients. As always, with love in my heart, I love you all. I hope you guys have a great day. My friends in the West Coast, you guys are truly lucky because it's only 7 a.m. Bye, everybody.